You're reading something on your phone right now. Maybe you're watching a video. Maybe you're checking messages. Maybe you're halfway through an article you'll probably never finish. Whatever it is, you didn't think twice about opening it. You just did it. The same way you breathe, the same way you blink. You have no idea how many invisible things are happening right now to make that possible. And you have no idea what happens to your world when all of them stop. Tonight they stop. Not for an hour, not for a day, forever. The internet. Every server, every connection, every signal bouncing between satellites and cables, and the little router sitting in your hallway, all of it gone. And the world that wakes up tomorrow morning is a fundamentally different place from the one that went to sleep last night. Let's talk about what that actually looks like. The first thing most people imagine is inconvenience. No Netflix, no social media, no Google Maps. And yes, fine, all of that, but inconvenient is the wrong word for what happens in the first 24 hours, because within hours of the internet going dark, something much more serious than inconvenience begins. Your bank stops working, not just the app on your phone, the entire system. Every transaction in the modern world, every payment, every transfer, every purchase from a corner shop to a billion-dollar corporation runs over internet infrastructure. The cash machine on your high street, internet. The card reader at your supermarket, internet. The stock markets that determine the value of pension funds, currencies, and entire national economies, completely and immediately offline. Economists estimate that a single day without the internet would cost the global economy around $43 billion. That's one day. Now imagine that number doesn't stop. It just keeps going, every day, forever. The businesses that can't take payments close, the workers who depend on cloud systems to do their jobs can't work. The companies that exist entirely online, and there are thousands, simply cease to exist overnight. We haven't even left day one yet. Here's where it gets serious. You know that thing hospitals have been quietly doing for the last 20 years? Moving everything onto digital systems, patient records, medication schedules, monitoring equipment, diagnostic imaging, the software that tells a surgeon what they're looking at during an operation. In July 2024, a single faulty software update from one cybersecurity company disrupted internet-connected services at over 750 hospitals across the United States alone. Surgeries were canceled, patient records became inaccessible, newborn monitoring systems went down, and that was fixed within days. There is no fixing this. Doctors revert to paper records, if the paper records still exist, which in many hospitals they don't. Drug dosages that were being calculated automatically now have to be done by hand. Patients in intensive care units whose conditions are being monitored remotely are suddenly invisible to the nurses watching their screens. The most vulnerable people in your society, the ones who absolutely need the system to work perfectly, are the first ones the system fails. And outside the hospitals, the emergency services start struggling too. Dispatch systems that route ambulances and fire engines, internet-dependent. The communication networks that let emergency responders coordinate across a city, down. It doesn't mean civilization collapses on day one, but it means that on day one, people start dying who wouldn't have died yesterday.
If the internet shuts down, this subscribe button probably won't work anymore. Better click it while you still can.
Now let's zoom out, because what's happening to your hospital is also happening everywhere else simultaneously. Think about how a container ship full of food gets from a farm in South America to a supermarket shelf near you. That journey involves dozens of digital handoffs, booking systems, customs filings, port coordination, payment networks, carrier updates, warehouse instructions. Every single one of those handoffs requires the internet. Without it, global shipping doesn't slow down. It stops. Containers sit in ports because the paperwork that releases them can't be processed. Trucks wait at borders because customs systems are offline. Goods that were 3 days from arriving are now stuck indefinitely. And the thing about modern supermarkets is that they carry very little stock. Most of them operate on what's called just-in-time delivery, meaning the food on the shelves today was ordered and dispatched digitally just a few days ago. Take away the digital ordering system and those shelves start emptying within a week. Food doesn't disappear, it's still growing in fields and sitting in warehouses. But the intricate, invisible digital web that moves it from where it is to where you need it is. And rebuilding that web without the internet means reverting to systems that were last used in the 1980s, systems that can only move a fraction of what the modern world needs. Let's pause for a second, because you might be thinking people lived before the internet. We had farms and banks and hospitals and supermarkets before 1983. Surely we can go back. And here's the honest answer: yes, eventually. But eventually is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. The world before the internet had the infrastructure to support the world before the internet. It had the people who knew how to run it, the paper-based systems that were already in place, the supply chains built for that era. Today's world has 8 billion people, a global food system that depends entirely on digital coordination, and a generation of workers who have never operated the older systems because those systems haven't existed in decades. The knowledge of how to run a pre-internet world didn't just pause, it was replaced. Getting back to something functional wouldn't take months, it would take years. And in those years, the disruption to food, medicine, heating, water treatment, all of which now depend in some way on internet-connected control systems, would be catastrophic in ways that are very difficult to calculate. Some experts believe the death toll from a permanent internet shutdown would ultimately be measured not in thousands but in millions. Not from the internet being gone, but from everything the internet was quietly holding together suddenly falling apart at once. But let's say the immediate crisis is somehow managed. Let's say governments activate emergency protocols. Armies are deployed to distribute food, hospitals go back to paper, people figure out how to pay for things with physical cash if they can find any. The worst of the immediate chaos is contained. What does life look like in 5 years? It looks like 1985, but harder, because 1985 had infrastructure built for 1985. This version has 8 billion people and infrastructure built for right now. You want to know if a flight is on time? You go to the airport and look at the board. You want to contact someone in another country? You write a letter and wait 3 weeks. You want to find a doctor in a new city? You ask a neighbor or look in a phone directory. If phone directories still get printed, which they mostly stopped doing around 2010. You want to access your savings? You hope your bank kept paper records of your balance because the digital ones are gone. The jobs disappear too, not slowly, immediately and permanently. Every job that exists because of the internet. And that's not just tech workers, that's the logistics coordinator, the online retailer, the digital marketer, the remote worker, the freelancer, the content creator, all of it gone overnight. Hundreds of millions of people globally out of work in a world that simultaneously can't feed or pay them through digital systems. The economy doesn't just shrink, it restructures entirely. And restructuring an economy of this size and complexity without the internet to coordinate the restructuring is something no one has ever had to do before. Here's the strange thing at the end of all this. The internet has only existed in its current form for about 30 years. The generation that grew up before it still remembers a world that worked without it. Libraries, paper maps, landlines, physical photo albums, encyclopedias, the ability to be genuinely unreachable for a weekend. And there's something almost peaceful about imagining that world, quieter, slower, less anxious. But here's the truth about that world. It supported about half the number of people that exist today. It couldn't grow food for 8 billion people. It couldn't move medicine across continents fast enough. It couldn't coordinate the infrastructure of the modern world at anything close to the scale required. The internet didn't just change how we live, it became the reason we can live the way we do at the scale we do it. Remove it permanently, and what you get isn't 1985. What you get is something no one has seen before. A world with the population of the modern era and the technology of a previous one. And that gap between how many people there are and what the remaining systems can support is where the real danger lives. You use it every day without thinking about it, the quiet engine running under everything, the invisible infrastructure holding billions of lives in place. You've never once thanked it for working. You only notice it when it doesn't. Go ahead and check your phone, it's still there, for now.